This is hard, but God is here and God is working in this. So if you've got questions, if you've got concerns, if you're hurting, I want you to know that you can reach out to any of the staff, the lead team, the elders. There'll be an email address that come up maybe now or at some point, Toby will bring it up, that you can email directly and someone will get back to you.
It is unexpected, it's uncomfortable, and it's messy. I also want to pause and acknowledge, as elders, we have made some mistakes along the way. We should have communicated more directly and clearly early with you. Our lack of clarity led to many assumptions being made about the situation.
It's not a pleasant thing to bear the news of another resignation of a megachurch pastor in Texas. In this year alone, we have witnessed the stepping aside of over 10 pastors. The reasons reported include, but not limited to, retirement, moral failure, revelations of past indiscretion, etc., while some chose not to disclose the reasons for resigning. Hot in the heels of Pastor Robert Morris of Gateway Church resignation is Pastor Josiah Anthony, another megachurch pastor. Pastor Josiah Anthony resigned over inappropriate and hurtful conduct. Anthony, the pastor of Cross Timbers Church in Argyle, stepped down from his role in late July. The elders at Cross Timbers Church made the same mistake that Gateway Church elders made when Pastor Robert was first exposed, and they had to apologize. They immediately jumped to his defense by saying he resigned due to moral failure, but days later corrected and said it was sensual abuse. Here's how Cross Timbers elders briefed their congregation, saying it was an inappropriate and hurtful actions, and later their apology and clarification.
Today is one of those days for us as a family where I've got to share some hard stuff. So I want to read this to you and then we'll talk some more about it. Over the past month, the elder board has become aware of events and circumstances involving our lead pastor, Josiah Anthony, that occurred over the past few years. After discussions with Josiah and other leaders within the church, we've determined the following. Josiah has been in a prolonged, sustained season of struggle with his emotional and mental health, which has been very painful for him and those around him. Throughout this struggle, some of Josiah's decisions and actions were inappropriate and hurtful to current and former members of the Cross Timbers family and staff. During this time, Josiah was not forthcoming and transparent with the staff and the elder board. Once all of this came to light over the last few weeks, it became evident that Josiah could not continue to serve as our lead pastor. Josiah agreed with this decision and has resigned, and we've accepted that resignation. While Josiah has made mistakes, he's accepting the consequences of his actions, and we are continuing to support his recovery and restoration. We ask that all of you as the CT family pray for Josiah and his family and give them space and privacy to heal.
Same mistake that Pastor Robert made of sharing half-truths, whereby he hid the facts of what he did to Cindy Clemshier and her age at that time. Is the same thing elders at Cross Timbers said about their former pastor, Josiah Anthony. Here is the detail of their apologies to the members of the church in the statement that followed.
And I'm actually going to look at my paper and read a lot of notes because I got several pages of things and I'll probably mess it up if I don't read from the notes. We shared with you last week that the elders asked our former senior pastor, Josiah Anthony, to resign due to inappropriate choices he made, and he agreed. And I have some updates for you today, but before I do, I want to pause for a moment. This place, you, our church family, the elders, the staff, and the community, we are all experiencing a tremendous amount of change. It is unexpected, it's uncomfortable, and it's messy. I also want to pause and acknowledge, as elders, we have made some mistakes along the way. We should have communicated more directly and clearly early with you. Our lack of clarity led to many assumptions being made about the situation, and in trying not to cause unnecessary harm, we inadvertently did. When new information comes out, please know we're not trying to hide it from you. We're trying our best to confirm facts and take appropriate action. We have shared what we knew to be true at the time, so we thank you for your patience. We also want to be very clear about the steps we have taken. As you know, Josiah has been open in his preaching about his mental health issues as well as his own mental health struggles, and we have compassion for people struggling with mental health. But our message last week sounded like this would be an excuse for inappropriate behavior. That was not our intention, and we're sorry for that. At the end of June, before Josiah entered his annual sabbatical, we received a report of inappropriate communication on social media with a woman who was a former member of Cross Timbers. After we learned more, we found that Josiah was not forthcoming and transparent with us. We learned that Josiah had a pattern of communicating inappropriately with women. On July 2nd, we were informed of another instance of inappropriate communication that was not sexual, but it was excessively personal and overly familiar with a former staff member. This was also inappropriate for a pastor in a position of authority in the church. On July the 8th, the elders then asked for Josiah's resignation. Josiah submitted his resignation before returning from his sabbatical, and we immediately accepted it. On Monday of this week, we learned about additional inappropriate comments Josiah made in a text message through social media that were sexual in nature. We were not aware of those interactions when we asked him to resign or when we announced his resignation to you last Sunday. We believe that the women that came forward, they made a very difficult decision, and we're honored that they trusted us. I want to be very clear, there are no inappropriate interactions with minors. The elders did not consider any of these instances to be emotional affairs. You may have read in an interview given this week by a staff member that term was used. That staff member inadvertently used an inaccurate term. An affair, whether emotional or physical, requires consent. These interactions could not be consensual because of the unequal power dynamic created by Josiah's position as the pastor in the church. This imbalance of power makes these interactions especially grievous for us. And that behavior will not be tolerated at the church. It will not be tolerated at any church or in any ministry, or should not be tolerated in any church or any ministry. And we are deeply sorry for those who've experienced it. The elders may learn about additional instances of inappropriate communication in the coming days, and will continue to make those necessary decisions as we move forward.
This is exactly what Gateway Church elders had to do a week after saying Pastor Robert was honest about his past inappropriate relationship with a young woman when he had actually molested a 12-year-old child. Now, in Argyle, Texas, Cross Timbers Church elders had to apologize to its members because of how they made their earlier statement. On Sunday, July 28th, Cross Timbers Church announced the resignation of its lead pastor Josiah Anthony, citing inappropriate and hurtful actions. The vague sermon left many church members and the general public with questions, which church leadership acknowledged on Sunday, August 4th. The August 4th sermon was the church's first since announcing Antony's resignation, and church elder John Chalk apologized for the church's communication with its members. "We've made mistakes along the way. We should have communicated more clearly and directly with you," Elder Chalk said. "Our lack of clarity led to a lot of assumptions about the situation, and in trying not to cause unnecessary harm, we inadvertently did." On Thursday, August 1st, the church released a statement to its members clarifying what led up to Antony's resignation. The update stated that just before Antony left for his annual sabbatical, elders received a report of inappropriate communication with a female former church member. Then, elders found another communication with a former staffer that was not sexual in nature but was excessively personal and overly familiar, the update said. After announcing Antony's resignation, the elders learned about other messages from Antony that were sexual in nature. Chalk repeated this update to members at the service on Sunday. "Please know that we are trying not to hide it from you. We shared with you what we knew to be true at the time," Chalk said. Antony preached about his mental health issues, which church leaders mentioned when discussing his resignation last week. Chalk said that messaging made it seem like the church would excuse inappropriate behavior because of mental health. Another similarity with Pastor Robert, who used to preach about his inappropriate and immoral relationship with a young woman in the 80s. Chalk also apologized to the church members for a staff member who was quoted describing Antony's exchange with former staff members as emotional affairs, because that infers the interactions were consensual. Chalk described the communications between the women and the pastor as inherently not consensual because of the power imbalance caused by Antony's leadership role within the church. Thank you for watching this video to the end. In conclusion, all pastors are human beings who experience the same struggles people they minister to go through. Commit to always pray for your pastor. What do you think of the many pastors who are being exposed of immoral behaviors? Are they being judged too harshly? Let's engage at the comment section. Don't forget to like this video and to subscribe to this channel. God bless you.